Well, the first thing I have to say is I love Ronaldo, so don't worry about that. Yeah. Okay. So according to the schedule, I should be finishing my talk. It could be one of the fastest talk I've ever going to have. So I'm first of all like to thank EPWN Lisbon for inviting me to this interesting conference. It is for me a pleasure to come to Lisbon because I love this city. It's a beautiful city, so it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me here. So I'm going to talk about innovation and the relationship with economic growth. I will spend like 20 minutes talking about that. And I would also like to talk about some examples of innovative projects that are happening nowadays that could have an impact in the future of some industries and also on the future of society as we know it. So we could have a debate afterwards in the panel, or also you could have a debate, as Fernanda was suggesting, on Twitter, right? Because it would be very lively to know your comments in real time, okay? So before starting, let me know your point of view. How many of you believe that innovation is needed for growing your business, for growing your country, for growing yourself? Could you please hand your, okay? So, I mean, we have a great majority of persons, right, in agreement that innovation is really important for growing. And in fact, you are in agreement with most of the top executives in the world. According to a survey done by Boston Consulting Group and Business Week last year, like 83% of top executives in the world believe that innovation is needed for growing their business. And also most of economists do believe so. There are two ways of growing an economy. One is by increasing the input, and the other way is by increasing the output, but just by doing things differently, by changing the processes. I don't know if you've ever thought about what is the impact of innovation in the economic growth that we've had in the past. And there are different figures depending on countries and historical data. The one you have here in this graph is referred to UK. Is provided by Nesta, which is a non-profit organization for fostering innovation in the UK. And they were calculating that in the last decade, like 63% of the economic growth in the UK was coming from innovation. If you look to other research in the States, for instance, you could have different figures, like 83% of the economic growth coming from innovation. So definitely, innovation has been a major source for growth in our economy. One of the catalysts of innovation, or one important factor on innovation, has been technology, or what we call general purpose technology. Technology has helped us in the history of humanity to speed processes. It allows us for getting flexibility or even to change our business models. But before sharing with you some examples, I would like to highlight your attention related to the subject of this conference, which is that inventions needs creativity. So innovation happens when technology or ideas capture value from the market. So you could have very valuable inventions, but maybe that value is not transferred to the society, so it is not really delivering what we call innovation or value to all of us. And creativity is in ourselves. It depends only on us, on management, or on persons, or people, or countries, right? So having a nice, important development on technologies is not enough. And I'm going to place a couple of examples to illustrate this point. Certainly, steam power was one of the reasons of the first industrial revolution, right? We changed the way we produce, we changed our labor market, we changed our society. The second industrial revolution in many cases, is related to electricity. And people were expecting a huge increase in productivity when electricity was coming into the factories. But you know, it took like 30 years for American factories to increase their productivity. And why was it? Well, because of, at that time, the managers that were using steam power in their factories, they replaced the electricity but continued doing the same thing just by changing the source of the power. So it was the next generation of managers that realized that by changing the layout in the factories, changing the line of productions because of electricity allowed them to move the machines and they needed not to be so close to the steam power like they were before. Then it was after that when they realized that they could do things differently in their factories when they improved productivity. So technology is not enough. You need an attitude and you need creativity to actually make that technology delivers value to the society. And I would like also to illustrate that with more close examples of companies that I believe understand this point very well. One company is 3M. I used to work at IE Business School with 3M very frequently. We share briefs and we put students at work for solving their innovation challenges. And I am always surprised how focused they are on understanding that what they call their technology platforms that you have on the right side of the slide are just a mean of delivering value to any of the industries where they compete. So they know that the R&D budget, their innovation culture is for putting their technology platform at the service of delivering value to the society. In many situations, not all countries or companies or government understand this. And so we are not effective on transferring knowledge or research into value, what delivers innovation. In the more type of consumer good company, let's think about Philips. So Philips was very well recognized for being a company dedicating a lot of investment to R&D and research in their budget. And they were very much on delivering extraordinary products on lightning. However, despite that huge investment and that clear mission, they were not having success into the marketplace. Because we are talking about solutions, we are not talking about products. Innovation should be at the service of solving problems to consumers, to citizens, or to governments, right? And it was only when they realized that and they shift their strategy, so they became a company that was leading on providing lightning solutions for a better life. So of course they were producing products, but they were transmitting that value from a different way to consumers. And it was only when they realized that they were competitive, they became competitive into the marketplace. So think about that. Not always a better so-called product will be competitive into the marketplace. It will be competitive into the marketplace just if they are addressing a problem or giving a solution to your customer. And sometimes on innovation, we believe that just by inventing things, it is enough, and it is not. So I would like now to have a kind of reflection or sharing with you some of the examples of things that are happening out there and that could have definitely a possibility of impacting our future in terms of industry disruption or social disruption. I am not aiming to mention all of them. I'm not definitely going to talk about nanotechnology because we have extraordinary experts here, or neuroscience, we have also an extraordinary expert here. I'm just going to talk to you some curious business models that are triggering my attention and probably we could discuss in the panel afterwards. So One of the industries I believe will be disrupted in the future is financial services. I would say thanks God, but who knows? And what is going to happen? How can we foresee the future? Will there exist banks 20 years in a row? Or will be Google our bank? Look what is happening in some countries. Well, you in Portugal, like we in Spain, have been suffering of the lack of loans, right? Banks were not lending money to entrepreneurs, to companies, and we were suffering about it. Well, the good thing is that there was a movement for individuals to provide that credit or that loans to society. So this is one of the many projects that you can find on internet, which is called Kickstarter. So how does it work? Well, instead of banks, you have individuals, many individuals, and they are ready to lend you money if they find your project interesting. So you submit your project, and there is kind of a bid, and maybe you can just lend 10 euros or 1 million, yeah? So it's a way of funding projects, and interesting enough, many of those projects are related also with culture, because culture is one of the greatest damages in terms of getting finance, right, from the government. So for instance, 10% of the movies at Sundance Festival have been produced by Kickstarter. So they've had more than 2 million people participating. In just 3 years, they've been able to raise $320 million in more than 18,000 projects. Just to mention that, like 15 projects have been able to raise $1 million each. So it means that now we have the trust for other people for lending us money. So maybe we can get rid of banks for that purpose, which could be good news. Another issue, which is also gathering my attention, this is a company called Safaricom. It is a company that operates in Kenya. They have 13 million customers, and they are now owned 40% by Vodafone. They have a product which is M-Pesa, which is a mobile operator, which is allowing population in Kenya to storage, transfer, and cash money, but without having banks, without having any bank account. So Kenyan people can now make any financial transfer or operation through their mobile phone, which is actually very convenient in a country where you can imagine that opening bank accounts is not very profitable or even feasible, right? So what is going to happen with this idea? Is it going to be transferable to other countries? Well, it happens by chance that 2 days ago, they launched it in Spain, the first money transfer by mobile phone in Spain. It is an agreement between Visa and Vodafone, so they call it the Vodafone wallet. So you will be able to pay with your mobile phone without any bank transaction, just by contact, yeah, with the phone and the terminal in the shops or whatever. So this is very interesting because this is happening obviously because we have technology, but because we are solving problems in places that there was an issue. So this is what we call reverse innovation. Reverse innovation is coming from that opportunity that a market not exploited, which is 5 billion of poor people with 30 trillion GDP opportunity, is obviously an open market for many companies, but they cannot operate doing the things in the same way they do in industrialized countries. And this is why Vodafone was operating in Kenya in a very disruptive way. Well, it's also happening in India and in other countries, right? So reverse innovation means that because you are obliged to do things differently in these countries to compete, then chances are that new opportunities come back to your country of origin, disrupting your market. And this is an example of the financial service I was describing. But there are many other examples on medical devices or even on learning industries. So probably a lot of these new projects in these countries will come back to us, hitting in the way we do business. Yeah. Another example that is going on concerning supply chain is on production and logistic. I don't know whether you know what is this. Anyone can guess? Is it what? Maker book? Yeah. Something more precise? Well, this is a 3D printer. Yeah? Oh, good. You have a prize, huh? Well, this is a 3D printer. According to Harvard Business University, 3D printers will change the world. This is the sentence they were using, so it's not me outstating this impact. Why do they believe so? Well, 3D printers make production closer to consumption. They avoid distribution and even retailing. Can you imagine that you can shop just by printing the product you want at home? Obviously, there are many products that can be printed, but there are others that can be printed. Maybe this Lego piece that you are missing, or maybe the handle of your coffee machine, which is broken, or maybe a spare part of your car. Yeah? So this is a reality. It is already used for producing artificial organs. It is used for producing components for cars, spare parts. It is used for medical instruments, fashion products, jewelries. Only 8% of individuals are, only 8% of the printers are owned by individuals. But prices are decreasing at quite fast speed. So now you can afford to buy one. What we are now missing is a software. So in order to use them, you will pay for the intellectual property, for the software and the materials, but then you can produce as many as customized products as you want. That could also alter the production system. Instead of having 200 factories of cars in Europe, maybe you can have just an assembly plant in each city because of spare parts or components of cars will be produced locally with this type of machines. You don't need to have these associated companies around. It will also could change the landscape on competitivity in the market. We will not need China anymore, right? So that's a point, yeah? So many things are happening. So we need to watch out on how could they actually affect our businesses or the way we produce things. Also in terms of logistic, could you ever imagine that there were cars that could be drive without drivers? Yeah? Well, we have them now, yeah? We have cars that have gone across Europe without any driver. We also have these famous, I don't know whether you know what it is. It's an aircraft, the drones, the famous drones they used to use for military purposes. Well, in the States, they will be legalized, they will be approved, for commercial use on 2015. So you can use drones for commercial purposes. So look at how it will affect the freight industry, telecom, or even using them for natural disasters. You name it. You can have it seems like science fiction, right? Well, it's not. It's just around the corner, yeah? So how can we profit that? I would also would like to talk about robots. And no, I don't mean robots that can do the cleaning and all these type of things, which is very interesting. I am talking about clever robots. I'm talking about robots that can learn to communicate with the natural language. So they can learn, a robot that can learn. Not only that, robot that can make hypotheses. Yeah, isn't that very close to thinking? Yeah? So this is Watson, which is a 7-year-old robot from IBM. It was very famous in the States because of actually it won the Jeopardy contest, yeah? Usually that happens. They are known by the wrong reason, but this child, I would say, won that contest, and this is an interesting chart on the learning curve of this robot. And you have here how through the years you can tell about the learning process of this machine, artificial intelligence, right? And you say, well, but what can we do with robots? Well, you can use robots for call centers. Any type of routine job that is able to be codified and you are able to write instructions about it could be replaced by this type of machines. So call centers, medical diagnosis, even financial services could be handled by this type of machines. Don't be scared. I am a little bit, yeah? But it's better to face the reality, yeah? In fact, there are also some softwares. Intuit is one company using to serve small companies with financial advice and taxes. They are calculating that with this type of technology, like 18% of the tax advisors in the States will remain without a job. Because you can have a cheaper and faster and even more accurate advisor for your taxes, for your accounting, for your financial information. And, well, I know this is a little bit disturbing, yeah? Because we expect that innovation will give us a better world. But we are in a phase of economic history where we are facing, also as Berto was saying, a change in paradigm. For the first time, increasing productivity is not related to increase in employment. So we are at all-time high productivity. However, employment is not following that trend. It means that a lot of productivity that is coming from this third revolution around computer power is destroying employment. So what is our future? We are also having even a tougher situation in Europe, right? Especially, I'm coming from Spain, so I'm very aware of the problem we have with unemployment. So what can we do about it? Is there anything we can do about it? Well, I think there are also some underlying trends which place some room for optimism. And this is one trend that I find very interesting that actually gives me the courage to present such a not very optimistic data on unemployment. We are moving from what we call a hyper-consumption century to a collaborative consumption century. Maybe because we are forced, yeah, because of the situation we have now. But they are emerging a lot of what we call micropreneurs. This is a concept that was developed by Rachel Bowman, which is one of the persons that was developing this concept of sharing economy. So micropreneurs are people that the only way to be participating in the economy, in the society, is to put in value or monetize their private assets. What is a private asset? My house, my knowledge, what I can do for the others, either by sharing to other products or just by making a personal service about it. And I'm going to put an example of a company that, building on that trend, has been able to grow amazingly in the last 3 years. How many of you know Airbnb? Well, a couple of persons know Airbnb, and in fact, it is one of the biggest hotel chains in the world. I'm going to explain that. Hilton is the first hotel chain in the world. They have 600,000 rooms. Airbnb has 300,000 rooms in just 3 years, with a particularity. These rooms are not fixed assets for this company. These rooms belong to individuals. So instead of coming to this nice hotel, I could have chosen a place in Lisbon, actually nice rooms in Lisbon, more than 1,000, and stay at a private house surrounded by local people, friendly people, in a nice environment for a significant less money, and sharing experiences with the local people out there. So these Airbnb, they are just connecting individuals that want to monetize their private assets, let's say, theoretically, with other consumers or people that are looking for a solution, which is, I want to stay in a nice place at a reasonable price. So they have become one of the key competitors for hotel chains without being a hotel chain. Yeah. So we individuals have the power to challenge them if we are smart enough, right? So these guys, in these 3 years, actually I need to update this chart. They've been able to book more than 10 million nights. They are connecting more than 2 million people and having available 300,000 rooms that they are doubling every year. So there are hopes for disrupting the way economy has been working in the past. And so that is shown also in this nice chart where you can see that we are transitioning from what we call ownership economy to a sharing economy. So at the first stage, we wanted to own cars. Then we shipped for car sharing, and you have all these companies that appear for letting you share your cars. Then we said, well, we actually don't need to share cars, but to share rides. So if you are going in the same direction every day, maybe we can share ridings. And now we are like person-to-person car rental. So maybe I'm not using my car in the weekends. Maybe you can use it for a moderate price. So this is again in that idea of monetizing your personal assets. You are not using your car, so why don't you take some resources out of it? So there is a kind of underlying revolution that is driven by us, individuals, not by governments, not by any economic agent. It is based on our initiative. So we shouldn't complain and maybe think about reinventing our organizations, how we work, reinventing our economic system. There are many companies that are operating without currencies, just by changing services, or even there have been some places where they have invented currencies in the internet, yeah? So the message I would like to pass you today is that we have an opportunity because of you cannot find a better time or a greater need than the one we have today to innovate, okay? So it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility, is depending in ourselves. So thank you very much.